Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online Series 1 VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring the team that won the very first North American Regional Championship in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC. The team has so many fun tricks up its sleeve. It's centered around a Poison Tera Garganacl with Salt Cure, Recover, Protect, and Wide Guard, but it has a ton of other fun sets including Loaded Dice Excalibur, Aqua Paldean Tauros, Choice Specs Gholdengo, Max Attack Adamant Nature Meowscarada, and Life Orb Mimikyu with 3 attacks and Protect. This team was built and piloted by a player called Jiseok Lee, who had an absolutely phenomenal run throughout the tournament. By the way, I commentated San Diego Regional, so if you want to watch the battles from that tournament, I'll link the VODs on YouTube down in the description below, and you should definitely go watch and see how Jiseok piloted this team, because it's absolutely amazing. I think Garganacl was a Pokemon I feel like a lot of people had kind of just written off going into this regional championship, and this team honestly makes Garganacl look like one of the best Pokemon in the format. And so, as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down in the description below. Please go check out Jiseok. I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. He does VGC coaching if that's something you're interested in, and in addition, he wrote a really in-depth team report for this team, and it gives you a ton of insight into how you can utilize it. And so check all of that down in the description below. Thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out a ton. Anyway, let's talk about this team. So, I just wanted to quickly give some context about this tournament. Like I mentioned, it was the very first official VGC tournament in Scarlet and Violet in person in North America. It had 531 players, and it was 10 rounds of Swiss of best of 3 with a top 32 single elimination bracket. And so Jiseok obviously ended up finishing in first place here. Thanks to Victory Road, by the way, for compiling this data. I'll link it down in the description below. The main thing I'll call out here is that if you look at the top 32, there were only, I think, 3 Garganacls. Jiseok won with it, Giovanni here had one at 8th place, and then Colin Hire had one here at 23rd place. But Garganacl was just not a very common Pokemon relative to a lot of the other Pokemon used in this tournament. I feel like going into this tournament, a lot of people were sleeping on this Pokemon and kind of had forgotten about just how good it was. And I think Jiseok having this set with Protect as well as Wide Guard and the Poison Tera truly made it really, really unique. And so, yeah. Jiseok honestly made Garganacl look like one of the best Pokemon in the format. You should really go watch his battles from the tournament specifically. I'll link the VODs once again down in the description below. But yeah, just wanted to give some context for this event. So, Jiseok wrote a team report for this team and a tournament report, and it is so insightful. I figured it'd be a little bit more useful to actually walk through the team members via this report rather than just have it on Showdown. Of course, there's a team code up there, and there's a paste down in the description below if you want to try it out yourselves. Please go read this team report as well. It's so insightful. There's so much information, and it's just so much good value, and you get a first-hand peek at how one of the best players in the game approached team building, as well as how this team really came together. By the way this is organized is that this right side in the parentheses, those numbers are the EV spreads, and then the left number is the actual stat. So the first Pokemon was Choice Specs Gholdengo, and this is a really interesting one. It's super bulky with 164 HP EVs, and it's also timid max speed. So you're almost always moving first relative to the opposing Gholdengos with this, but you also have enough bulk to not only survive Jolly Meowscarada knockoff, but also modest Gholdengo Shadow Ball. This is a really important benchmark or important set of benchmarks because Gholdengo and Meowscarada are just 2 of the most common Pokemon in the format. And so you can catch opposing Pokemon off guard, survive these hits, but still do massive amounts of damage with the combination of Choice Specs and potential Steel Tera as well, which I think is really, really neat. The next Pokemon here is this Excalibur, and it's just max attack, 196, max HP, 196 attack, and then 52 speed. So the idea with this is to generally survive most Dragon Claws from opposing Life Orb Garchomps and outspeed some of the opposing Excaliburs. For example, I feel like a lot of Excaliburs have just been max HP and max attack, so you kind of speed creep them a little bit, which is pretty nice. And the idea here is that you have the loaded dice, and so Icicle Spear is really sweet. Water Tera here is really nice with Excalibur. Of course, gives you the resistance into Steel, for example, which is really important given how many Steel types exist, and you have good defensive coverage with it. This is a very solid Tera option. The next Pokemon here is Garganacl. This is actually the main star of the team, in my opinion, and it's a really bulky spread with a lot of special defense investment with Careful, max HP, and 60 defense EVs. I think one thing that's really huge about Garganacl on this team, by the way, is that before, I feel like this tournament, so many people were just running like Iron Defense, Body Press, Salt Cure, and Recover on Garganacl, but this has Recover, Wide Guard, Protect, and Salt Cure. And so the main thing is that you have Protect, right? Protect naturally synergizes really nicely with Leftovers, as well as Salt Cure damage stacking up, and Wide Guard's really nice. What's interesting is that the wide guard was used even in an open team sheet format, and so in regionals, your opponents would see your moves, and so they would know that Garganacl has wide guard. But just the presence of this alone makes your opponent have to think twice about clicking those spread moves, and of course, there are times where like they have nothing else to go for, and so wide guard just like helps you very, very nicely against that. And with this defensive investment, you survive 36 attack, annihilate, max power rage fist twice with leftovers recovery, which I think is a really, really wild benchmark. And so, yeah, I think Poison is really interesting because it's not a very common Tera type, but on Garganacl, it is super, super solid. And the reasoning is kind of explained down here, where it's, you know, resists both grass and fighting, but then it's also not weak against ice and electric. And so, yeah, it makes it a really nice defensive Tera. And yeah, I feel like the main thing is watching this Garganacl throughout the regional championships. There were so few Pokemon that could hit it for super effective once it turned into Poison, because there weren't that many like ground type attacks or Pokemon to begin with, which I think was really, really solid. So yeah, I think this is maybe the best user of Poison Tera that I've ever seen in Scarlet and Violet so far. To round out the team, you've got Aqua Paldean Tauros. This is also a really bulky set. Like, this is wild. You actually survive Flower Trick from Jolly Meowscarada and a Sucker Punch on top, which I know when I ran into that, I was like, that's absolutely bonkers. But it's impish nature. You've got a ton of HP and defense investment, but you also still one-shot max bulk Volcarona with Tera Wave Crash, which I think is also wild. And then you also survive Draco Meteor from Hydreigon most of the time, and outspeed max speed Armarouge by 1. This was specifically, I think, designed to try to counter opposing Armarouges. But yeah, this is where like EV spreads make such a big difference, right? If you are just no attack, or sorry, no HP or defense investment, Flower Trick can really wreck you. But with this amount of defense, you always survive, which I think is wild, because then you can retaliate back with close combat. Tauros, by the way, feels like one of the MVPs from the regional championship in general. This had such a higher usage rate than I expected for the tournament. It wasn't even really on my radar that much going into regionals, and boy, did it come out in full force. Finally, to round out the team, this is just classic Meowscarada. You know, it is just Adamant, max attack, max speed. Adamant's actually a big difference maker here, and I think the commentary here is interesting, right? Jiseok had tested Jolly, but there were fewer people using Maushold and Gengar, so it made more sense to run Adamant. Adamant's also really nice because I think often people calc for Jolly and not Adamant, and so you can get surprise knockouts with like knockoff onto Gholdengos with no bulk whatsoever, for example, and just do more damage than people are generally expecting. Finally, you've got the Mimikyu on this team, which is really fun. Now, I think this Mimikyu was so smart, and I love the explanation here, by the way. It kind of feels like a budget Flutter main, but the idea is that you have Disguise, right? Disguise, and it's just Adamant, max attack, max speed, 4 HP, and it's triple attack with Protect. I feel like when people have historically used Mimikyu, especially in more recent formats, they use it as like a really bulky Trick Room setter, use Trick Room, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, combination of that. But Ghost and Fairy is actually really unique coverage into the current format, especially you think about like the number of Pokemon that are weak to Fairy, Annihilate, Hydreigon, Garchomp, just to name a couple. Ghost gives you really good coverage into Gholdengo, for example, as well. And so this just does a lot of damage. Disguise also synergizes really nicely. Like, you have Disguise Protect, it synergizes so nicely with Sulk here from Garganacl, and so like the damage from Garganacl essentially just stacks up. And then like with Disguise and Protect, it basically takes longer to actually KO this Pokemon. And so yeah, I think this team is just so brilliant, and the team report gives a lot more insight into how you can actually utilize it, so I'd really recommend giving it a good read through. So when highlighting weaknesses, I think it's good to actually look at some of the teams that Jiseok lost against at the regional championship. Now, I'll caveat this with the fact that, of course, regionals is best of 3 open team sheet versus best of 1 closed team sheet online play, and I think that, for example, it can be a little bit harder to use this team in best of 1 closed team sheets because like you're left guessing what opponents' Tera types are in general, and that's especially, I feel like, relevant against Dondozo teams where there's so many different types of Dondozos that you can run. But first of all, Jiseok just absolutely swept through the first couple of rounds. Like, he went, 2-0 wins in rounds 1 through 6. So there's not that much insight to be gleaned from the first couple of rounds. But Jiseok did lose back-to-back best of 3s against Emilio Forbes and Chupa Cross, and both of them had Dondozo Tatsugiri teams. Now, this round was really interesting in particular, round 7, because Emilio had a Choice Specs Glamora with Earth Power. If you think about what beats Garganacl with Poison Tera, it's like strong ground type attacks, and especially strong ground type attacks from special attackers, right? And so Glamora with Choice Specs kind of niche, but yeah, it actually gave like the Gholdengo a ton of trouble, and I imagine that Jiseok probably didn't feel as confident in bringing the Garganacl into this matchup given the Choice Specs Earth Power. And so just any strong special attacker with Earth Power, I think in itself can actually make it a lot harder to bring Garganacl, and Garganacl is one of the key pieces for this team. Jiseok also lost against Chuppa, who he then defeated in the finals, but I think if you watch how Jiseok played against Chuppa in the finals, he clearly had absorbed a lot of knowledge and had very specific game plans that would last like multiple turns, and it can be kind of hard to come up with those game plans immediately, either in best of 1 or best of 3, and so Jiseok said at this point he didn't have a complete game plan against non-Sash Meowscarada and Dondozo, and so he ended up losing 0-2 here, but what's really cool is seeing how he had learned from this Swiss round and then adapted to eventually win in the finals. And so, yeah, if you look at the rest of the teams, it seemed like Dondozo Tatsugiri was the one that, gave Jiseok the most amount of trouble throughout Swiss, as he took multiple, best of 3 losses, as well as an individual game loss against it here in best of, in round 10. And then Jiseok also once again swept through a lot of top cut, 2-0 in top 32, 2-0 in top 16, 2-0 in top 8, 2-0 in top 4, and then finally dropped another game to Chuppa here in the second match overall. So yeah, I think Dondozo Tatsugiri can still be pretty hard to fight against with this team. You certainly have answers where you intimidate it with Tauros and you slowly salt cure things. That's one option you can take, for example. But in best of 1, I think that's a lot trickier. So those are some weaknesses from the tournament itself. I think in my experience in using the team, some other things that I've run into include, for example, recovery from the opposing side in general. What's really interesting is that Jiseok did not bring the Garganacl in the finals because he was up against Rest Chestoberry on Dondozo, and so it's a lot less effective because your opponent can just heal back all the damage that you've done with Salt Cure. Salt Cure is something that you use like naturally over a long period of time and eventually chip away at your opponent, but recovery can manifest in the form of Rest from Dondozo or just recovery moves in general. I think Pollen Puff Amoongus is something I actually played on the ladder with this team and had a ton of trouble against because they were able to just like keep cycling in with Regenerator and then heal back a ton as well. So that's one thing that can be kind of scary. I think fighting type Pokemon, by the way, can actually just be kind of tough, especially because if you look at the team, there are a lot of Pokemon that are weak to fighting. Obviously, Teras can get around it, but Meowscarada is weak to fighting. For example, Garganacl is weak to fighting before Tera. Excalibur is weak to it as well. And so, yeah, fighting in general can be a little bit tough to go up against. And yeah, I think the other thing to call out is like Garganacl is a Pokemon that can stay on the field for a long time, but can feel a little bit passive, and you're often relying on the partners to actually pick up knockouts. But for example, if you just get one shot, your Excalibur gets one shot, or your Gholdengo gets one shot, it makes it so much harder to actually deal consistent damage and do the amount of damage that you need to actually finish things off. So that's one other thing to watch out for. And with Garganacl, like I mentioned, those special ground type moves and Pokemon can be particularly annoying, but otherwise baiting out the Tera and then using really strong attacks post Tera that otherwise normally wouldn't be super strong, I think could be kind of tough. For example, this is very niche, but yeah, like Hydro Pump, Overheat from Choice Specs Rotom Heat, not very strong when you're Rock, but when you turn into Poison, then it becomes stronger. And just like strong special attacks in general can still be annoying. Like I've run into Pelipper, which Hydro Pump me for a ton of damage, and so those are some things that can give Garganacl trouble in particular. So yeah, that's it for the breakdown, or for the weaknesses. Let's finally get into the battles. Alright, let's get into things. Armarouge, Hariyama, Annihilate, Torkoal, Indeedee, and Farigiraf. It's a very clear Trick Room team, and what's interesting is, like, this team that Jiseok used, he went up against, like, a pseudo Trick Room team in the semifinals, and he said he was really worried about going up against the Trick Room component, but interestingly enough, his opponent ended up not really going towards the Trick Room mode. So if you want to set up Trick Room from the opposing side, the best bet is either Indeedee, Armarouge, or Indeedee plus the Farigiraf. Now, we'll probably want to utilize Garganacl defensively to stall things out. Indeedee and Armarouge is fairly concerning, though. What's our best bet against that? I don't think we really bring Tauros. Gholdengo forces a follow me from Indeedee essentially on turn 1. I think I want to go with Meowscarada. I mean, Meowscarada Garganacl just puts on a lot of offensive pressure immediately, but I actually kind of like Garganacl, Gholdengo, and Excalibur. I think Water Tera Excalibur could be huge for us here, by the way. If they try to go like Indeedee, Armarouge with Torkoal in the back. Because I can just Tera the Excalibur into Torkoal. But yeah, it's interesting. I actually feel like Trick Room has underperformed relative to my expectations, especially after that first regional championship. It's going to be Hariyama for a grass, so it's the other way to kind of set up Trick Room. Gholdengo lead would have been excellent here, but it's fine. Likely fake out into Meowscarada turn 1. Hariyama is actually a really big problem for me, though. Like, you can just fake out plus Trick Room. I think I go into Gholdengo here. And honestly, I'm down to just Sulk here into Hariyama immediately. Yeah, I prepared really hard for NDD plus or NDD plus Armor Rouge, not so much Hariyama plus Farigiraf. There's Fake Out. Yep. It's pretty important to make that switch because I think conserving Focus Sash is actually a really big deal in this matchup. I think the thing is, it's probably Flame Orb Hariyama, right? So the question is, what do I want to do this next turn? Do I consider Terroring with the Gholdengo, get rid of my Ghost typing to anticipate a knockoff from Hariyama? There's Flame Orb. Obviously, they could just close combat into Garganacl right now, which does not feel great. And I actually don't have that many switch-ins. Really, any switch-ins for that. Hariyama does theoretically get Wide Guard as well. I think what I want to do is Tera here. And just make it rain. If I Tera, though, it means I'm pretty weak into Torkoal. I honestly feel kind of forced to here, though. Tera, make it rain, protect. There is a decent amount that could go wrong for us here. I mean, Hariyama could obviously just knock off into Gholdengo. They could even make the wild read of close combating that slot, which would make my opponent an absolute genius. And if they do that, so be it. Props. But yeah, I think a Gholdengo lead would have just been way more effective for me in this match. Although I suppose Hariyama probably has Wide Guard. Yep, there's knockoff, but defensive Tera helps against that. They Dazzling Gleamed. Okay. It's fine for now. Next turn gets dicey, though. I think the real interesting thing is with Hariyama, what slot do you click? Oh, that was so much damage. Actually, does Hariyama just faint here from Burn and Sulk here? I think it does. There's Burn. Here's the Cure. Nice. Okay, I'll take that. If Torkoal comes out, it's interesting because I can actually click Wide Guard against it. A single Wide Guard goes a long way in this matchup. Maybe they just Earth Power instead, but then I stalled a turn of Trick Room, which is pretty essential. Knocking out Hariyama was a big deal there because close combat kind of just KO'd the entire team. But they actually bring out Armor Rouge. Okay. Armor Rouge is fine. Three turns of Trick Room left. I mean, I could switch into Baxcalibur right now. I could just sacrifice Gholdengo. I think sacrificing Gholdengo here is fine. It's really done what I've needed to do. So I'm going to just Shadow Ball here and then just Sulk here into Armor Rouge. No Tera. Garganacl's the fastest Pokemon under Trick Room. Works for me. I should have thought about that. Oh, it's weakness policy Armor Rouge. Okay, Dazzling barely does anything there, but they have Aura Sphere as well. But I survive, and I'm gonna get the. What is this turn? That was a whole lot of emotion all in one turn. From, okay, I outspeed, which is expected, to, oh, they have weakness policy, to, oh, they have Aura Sphere, to, oh, they don't KO me, and Gholdengo survives the turn. Okay. We'll take it. We'll certainly take it. I mean, Garganacl can actually just knock out Armor Rouge right now, and I get a single target, make it rain afterwards. So, yeah, let's just Sulk here and use this offensively. Like, Garganacl's the MVP of this team. It is so, so good. And I think watching, just just watching this team throughout the tournament, I've been really impressed by the idea of just leading Garganacl and using it to apply a lot of immediate pressure. That's not how I thought, like, the best approach to Garganacl was before this team won the tournament, but then, yeah, watching Jiseok play with it, like, he made lead Garganacl just look so good, and it really completely changed my perspective on how you utilize this Pokemon, which I think is awesome. Anyway, it's interesting they had Armarouge out first rather than Torkoal, but also I think that this game is a testament to how bulky Garganacl is. Like, we literally took a +2 Aura Sphere from Armarouge. And yeah, Torkoal was their last one, so, I mean, if they're bringing it out now, I almost want to think that it's Choice Specs, and, like, they didn't want to bring it out because they were afraid of Wide Guard pressure earlier. Like, that would make some sense to me. Anyway, Gholdengo's at -2. I've got Meowscarada and Baxcalibur in the back. The one thing to note is that they still haven't committed their Tera, but it's fine. Yeah, I think we just sacrifice Gholdengo here, protect Garganacl. Still no Tera. Interesting. Farigiraf commits Protect as well. Protect, Dazzling Gleam, Trick Room. Eruption. Yeah. Cool. With that Protect, it means I can just very safely bring in Meowscarada. I think the main debate is... yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to just bring out Meowscarada, Flower Trick into the Farigiraf, and just Salt Cure into Torkoal. Because we still have Baxcalibur in the back. The main thing in this game was we were actually able to stall out Trick Room effectively, which I'm really happy about, because that was the scariest thing. Like, I don't think Trick Room's that easy to fight against, but I think the pressure of Wide Guard alone on Garganacl is really nice. So I'll go for Flower Trick and Salt Cure. I think their play is probably a double Protect here. They finally Tera, but that's fine. Fire Tera Torkoal. I think at this point, if it is that, it's too late. Yeah. Works for me. Like, the main thing here is that I have Focus Sash on Meowscarada. They don't attempt to double. Beautiful. So, no chance of getting Trick Room up again. Farigiraf faints. I get the Salt Cure into Torkoal. Super effective. And, you know, then I just bring out the Baxcalibur, and I just protect with Baxcalibur into, like, Knockoff, Glaive Rush, plus the Salt Cure should be enough. Okay. There's Eruption. Beautiful. Now it's time for Baxcalibur to come out. But this was a pretty scary matchup, in my opinion. I think hard Trick Room is tough in itself. I think the big thing was that we were able to render Hariyama relatively useless in this game, because Hariyama could have destroyed the entire team under Trick Room, so using the defensive Tera on Gholdengo to make sure we didn't get KO'd by Knockoff was a really big deal in this match. Excalibur comes out. It's always safer to just double Protect first, and then knock off into Glaive Rush. Although I think Knockoff Glaive Rush gets the knockout already as is. Might as well just ensure nothing crazy happens. Don't want to lose to something like them actually surviving miraculously and then Heat Wave critting. But yeah, they're clicking Eruption again. That really makes me think they're choiced, which would explain why they brought out the Armarouge first over Torkoal. But I think it's still fine to bring out Torkoal and then just go for like a single target move onto Garganacl, whether it be Earth Power or Flamethrower. But Salt Cure is just so good. Okay, just knock off and Glaive Rush. And with knockoff, we'll be able to confirm the item as well. So, is there Choice Specs? Yeah. That explains why they brought out Armarouge first. But shoutouts to Garganacl for surviving on a sliver of HP. When I saw the weakness policy go off, I was like, oh no, what did I just do? But we still had enough HP. And yeah, Garganacl was just that tanky. So, hard Trick Room for our first matchup here, and Garganacl puts in a lot of work being able to just consistently Salt Cure across the board and chip away so that the rest of the Pokemon can get these knockouts. That was especially critical with the Gholdengo, you know, getting that Make It Rain and then Hariyama taking enough chip damage so that it would just faint, because otherwise Hariyama would have just really swept me under Trick Room. But you can see the pressure Garganacl applies with Salt Cure, as well as even just the threat of Wide Guard, making my opponent not want to bring in that Torkoal immediately. So, yeah. Whoa, what is this next team? Clodsire? I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know Heracross was in the game. Kilowattrel, Tinkaton, Armarouge, and Meowscarada. Very cool. These teams always scare me because I don't really know what to fully expect. I'm actually really intrigued by Mimikyu here. Like, we have a super effective play rough into a lot of Pokemon, as well as a super effective Shadow Claw / Shadow Sneak into Armor Rouge. So I like the idea of leading Mimikyu. I mean, could go double Ghost here. I mean, Poison Garganacl is also just solid here. I'm down for a Mimikyu Garganacl lead. And in the back... it's pretty hit or miss. I think Gholdengo. I don't think Tauros is actually that good here, but I don't think it's like terrible, and I like it as an answer into Armor Rouge. Like, that's one of the upsides of having Tauros on this team. And yeah, we can use it to just Wave Crash into them. Intimidate's also valuable into Tinkaton. It's gonna be Kilowattrel or Meowscarada. Okay, works for me. I guess the interesting thing is that they like double up onto Mimikyu to start. I'm down to Protect though, Tera. Just Sulk here. I also actually don't even know if you knock out Mimikyu. Play rough. Who else would I Tera in this battle? If we eliminate these, Tauros becomes a lot more valuable, so I do want to get a knockout quickly, I think. Okay, I'm going to play rough, Tera, Sulkir into... double up into Meowscarada. Meowscarada could protect on turn 1, of course, but if it does, it's not the end of the world. The scary thing would be it protecting and then Disguise on Mimikyu being broken. But, yeah, I think the other thing is they might not be Focus Sash on Meowscarada, so if they're not, play rough would just knock them out, and then Sulkir gets redirected into Kilowattrel, which would be the dream scenario here, but there's just Air Slash. Yeah, so they're going to break Disguise. I mean, it could be Choice Band Meowscarada with Flower Trick here, right? That could be kind of scary. But it's U-turn. Okay, U-turn makes me think Choice Band. Cool. Surprised they went for that rather than just Flower Trick, honestly. But I'll take it. It's a lot of free damage onto whatever's coming in. What is coming out? Kilowattrel is actually kind of scary for Garganacl. Like, Garganacl just doesn't love going up against special attackers, but in the long run, we'd win 1v1 with Sulkir plus Recover plus Leftovers, but just gotta be a little bit careful. Oh, they bring out Heracross, but we've got Life Orb Play Rough going into that slot. Goodbye, Heracross. I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to bring Mimikyu in this matchup, though, right? Like, if you look at its typing, it's so good offensively into so much of my opponent's team. I love the Life Orb Mimikyu on this team. I think it's such a smart meta call, and I had not seen anyone else using Life Orb 3 attack plus Protect. Also, Sulkir did so much damage there. Wow. Yeah, that already puts my opponent in a really difficult position, because I can just Shadow Sneak KO Kilowattrel. I can just double Protect this next turn to bait out a Protect from their end as well. They just bring Meowscarada back out. Cool. Honestly, here I'm content just double Protecting. I just want to scout out for 1, a potential Tera, and 2, a potential Protect from either Pokemon, and 3, what Meowscarada goes for, because I think Sucker Punch could make some sense. Knockoff could make some sense. The U-turn did not really feel like Choice Band damage onto Mimikyu, honestly, but I'm not sure what other item you'd be running then. Okay, Mimikyu protects first, so they're not protecting on their side. That's fine. I mean, I'm just going to Shadow Sneak Kilowattrel and Sulkir Meowscarada most likely this next turn. They just Air Slash, so no Sucker Punch. Cool. Probably Knockoff. Or Flower Trick into Mimikyu. Yeah. Here's the Protean. Into Mimikyu. Cool. Okay, works for me. Especially if you're Choice Banded, because then I could actually just KO Kilowattrel with Sneak and Sulkir into Meowscarada. Kilowattrel Protect here would be pretty strong. Then you would get a knockoff off, maybe KO Mimikyu. Switch. Nicely done. Tinkaton. Okay. That's pretty neat. We've got Mold Breaker. Decent damage from Shadow Sneak. Yep, and then Knockoff. The cool thing, though, is now I can just bring out Tauros. And Intimidate's really valuable into both of these. I still just don't know the item on the Meowscarada is the main thing. They haven't terra'd yet either, which is interesting. Yeah, I'm going to go into Tauros, I think. I think Tauros this turn into a double protect is fine. Oh, Tinkaton does get faint, though. That makes things a little bit more interesting. If you had faint plus, like, Flower Trick on Tauros right now, that could actually be pretty scary. Maybe I should just attack then. I still think they're choice banded, though, is the thing. Like, I'm honestly leaning towards protect here. Well, if I think they're banded, I could just attack, right? Let's just attack. I'm just going to close combat. Sulk here. There's Fake Out into Tauros. And Knockoff, cool. Interesting that they clicked Knockoff. Well, I mean, it would make sense if you were choiced, right? It just did such little damage, I still can't really tell. But they also, I don't know, like, I would also knock off there even if I weren't choice banded because it would cover for a Gholdengo switch in. Sulkir is just putting in so much work right now. Garganacl is absolutely bonkers. Look at this damage. Oh my gosh. I'm down to just double protect here. See if they make a switch in a Kilowatts roll. If they do, I can just Aqua Jet and, like, they have no answer in beating this Garganacl right now. Like, Gigaton Hammer, knockoff combo into Garganacl. I don't even know if that does half our health. And they don't switch, which means more Salt Cure damage. Great, great, great. Really interesting team, though. It's a shame Heracross just went down as quickly as it did. Like, Tinkaton switching in for Heracross there would have put my opponent into a much better spot. But, yep, there's knockoff. I would guess Hammer here. Or Play Rough. Okay. Makes sense. The Tauros here isn't exactly max speed. Does Aqua Jet KO Tinkaton? Oh, it certainly should. Cool. Beautiful, now we can just Aqua Jet. And that's one of the other beautiful things about this team, right? Like, you have priority, and so often once you get things into chip range, then a single Aqua Jet or Shadow Sneak can just win you the game. But you can just see my opponent has nothing for Garganacl. Tauros Aqua Jets to KO Tinkaton. And the Salt Cure just put in so much work. Poison Tera, I cannot express, is so good, though, right? Because, like, it helps against the potential Grass-type damage from Meowscarada, as well as the Steel-type damage from the Tinkaton. Cool. Single Aqua Jet should finish off Meowscarada now. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, the reason I brought in Tauros in this game was to have the Intimidate into Tinkaton, as well as the Intimidate into Heracross. So, that was the primary incentive. I'm just going to Aqua Jet Kilowatts now. Meowscarada always faints after the turn, and I think it's fine to just protect here. Curious about the items just across my opponent's team, though. Still not really 100% sure, but they end up forfeiting. I think the main thing is that their team was just really frail between Kilowatts, Meowscarada, and the Heracross, and Mimikyu was absolutely amazing here because it threatened so much of my opponent's team with the super effective play rough, and so, yeah. Glad to feature like how strong offensive Mimikyu can be. And yeah, I think them switching out, they were probably just not expecting eating up a Life Orb play rough and getting one shot there immediately. So ends up working out very much in our favor. All right, let's keep things going. This is King Gambit, Excalibur, Tauros, Mimikyu, Amoonguss, and Salazzle. So definitely have seen this team before. Salazzle's interesting. I think Garganacl is so good here, though. Like, it ignores Spore from Amoonguss. Pretty content leading it, honestly. King Gambit, in my opinion, is the main thing to worry about from their end. Our Mimikyu is also pretty interesting. Play rough and Shadow Sneak. Could lead Meowscarada, but I'm worried about like Salazzle plus Excalibur. Gholdengo gets dunked on by Overheat. Tauros, if I lead, can activate King Gambit's Defiant. Okay, I'm thinking Mimikyu, Garganacl, Tauros in the back, and then Gholdengo is the last one. You can go Meowscarada over Gholdengo, but I feel like Specs Gholdengo is just so good that I want to bring it out here. I think one thing that's really interesting is I feel like after watching regionals, flying Tera King Gambit looked really impressive. Flying Tera King Gambit plus Rain was like a crazy strong duo or combo at regionals. So, I mean, first of all, I'm curious what Tera the King Gambit is on the opposing side. And yeah, we'll go from there. Salazzle Mimikyu. Okay. Salazzle Mimikyu. Could just protect turn 1. They could double up onto Mimikyu. You could fake out Garganacl, attack. Got Tauros in the back. I don't really hate a switch to Tauros turn 1 and a protect. Because then I can actually just Shadow Sneak Aqua Jet the Salazzle turn 2, and I get an Intimidate off onto Mimikyu. Like, what would they do that really threatens this? I don't know. There's not much, honestly. So maybe some surprise shenanigans from Salazzle, but I think this is actually really safe. It does risk some crazy read, I don't know, like them Sludge Bobbing Garganacl, or play Roughing it, or even Will-O-Wisping it, but I feel like the odds of all of those are pretty slim when you're facing this lead. And getting Tauros out now is really nice because I get it before King Gambit hits the field. Okay. Yeah. Looks like they were doubling up on a Mimikyu, if I had to guess. Sludge Bomb and maybe just a Ghost type attack. Yeah. Cool. That works for me. I guess the question is whether or not Salazzle is Protect. I would expect Fake Out, Overheat, Sludge Bomb in a 4th. Because, like, I could actually make the same play, like Aqua Jet, Mimikyu, and Shadow Claw that slot. Or I could double up on a Salazzle. I'm more tempted to double up on a Salazzle because it clears the way for Gholdengo. Let's try it out. Like, even if they protect, it's not the end of the world, right? Because their Mimikyu's at -1 right now, so it doesn't threaten me with this much damage. And if I KO Salazzle, that's their biggest threat to Gholdengo just eliminated immediately. So I'm willing to go for it, but having not fought too many Salazzles, I don't know like the percentage of them that carry Protect and how likely that is in this scenario. And they switch. Nicely done. Into their own Tauros. That's fun. That is fun. Okay. Yeah, like I'm down to go for that because I think if someone gets greedy there, it's a huge payoff. And like I don't think they actually get that much out of this turn anyway, so things could be worse. But it's a great switch in on their end. And they're going to Shadow Claw my Mimikyu slot. Okay. It's really a revolving door of all these Intimidates right now, which I find fascinating. Wave Crash from their end now does scare my Mimikyu a decent amount. I think I want to switch Tauros out into Garganacl right now. I think switch and Protect is okay here. Because then I can switch Mimikyu out the subsequent turn, Tera Garganacl, and just start going for Salt Cure. Right now, they haven't demonstrated too much power into Garganacl. The main thing I'm worried about is getting dunked on by like Overheat from Salazzle. Cool, Tauros protects. That works for me. It's been a pretty slow game so far. It's interesting because we both have Intimidate and kind of these defensive pivots. I'd actually play rough, but that's fine. It's not that much damage. Okay. So now I can Tera, Salt Cure, Tauros, bring in my own Tauros. I think like us having Garganacl just gives us a major edge in this matchup. You know what they could do though, which would be sick? Switch out your Tauros right now, into King Gambit, because Tauros would switch out first, then Mimikyu would switch out. Then I bring out my Tauros, and it would actually activate Defiant on their Tauros. That would be a sick play. That would be very sick. Mimikyu is at -1. It's not really scaring me that much. It's still just the Salazzle in the back that concerns me, but looks like they're staying in. Cool. Alright, we get our Tauros back in. I think if there's one turn you can really point to where I could have like played things better was when Salazzle switched out to Tauros. Like I could have made just an aggressive prediction there. But even if I doubled up onto their Mimikyu slot, given the Intimidate, I wouldn't have KO'd it anyway. So, I don't know, it's fine. Okay, here's Garganacl. They actually just Aqua Jet. Cool. And Sneak. I feel like we've literally fallen for each other's plays, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, it was so safe to switch in Tauros in that position, and it's not like Garganacl was really threatened by much here either, so it works out. I think they just really have nothing for Poison Garganacl right now, which I can leverage to my advantage. Sulcure is just putting in so much work now. Incredible. I mean, Tauros switching out here definitely could seem like it's the case. You could go into Salazzle, for example. Neither of these really even do much damage to me right now, even if you play rough plus, like, close combat. So I'm down to just Sulk here into Mimikyu and Wave Crash into Tauros to cover for a switch. And if they don't switch, fine, I get damage, and the Wave Crash plus the Sulk here might actually get the KO. I guess my problem is if they play rough close combat my Tauros here, and that's enough for a KO. It might be. So I'm going to contemplate protecting here instead. But I like the idea of being aggressive and covering for a Tauros switch. Because I think if Tauros switches out into Salazzle and I nail it on the switch in, they're in really bad shape. But they're just going to go for Raging Bull into me, but that does practically nothing. Okay, we'll Wave Crash in return. That also really doesn't do much, but it's fine. Probably play rough now. Oh, they actually up for Shadow Claw. Okay. Wondering if they were covering for a switch, but I have little incentive to switch there, honestly. I hope you can see how good Garganacl is. Like, I feel like Jiseok made it look like the best Pokemon in the game. Like, I'm so impressed by how well this team is built around Tit. The Poison Tera is just so brilliant. Like, I'd not really seen Poison Tera really on any Pokemon outside of, I don't know, maybe Hydreigon. Okay, Tauros feigns from Sulk here. And Garganacl is still sitting at like full HP. The Sulk here keeps adding up. And you can just see, like, this team has so many good defensive switches, right? You can, like, protect, you can intimidate, you have leftovers and recover on Garganacl. Such a steep contrast from the Iron Defense body press sets that people were using at the beginning of the season. And that's not bad, right? But being able to protect, I think it goes such a long way when you're using leftovers. King Gambit comes out now. Surely the King Gambit's the Terror option, right? But the main thing is, like, Garganacl just isn't really threatened by much right now, so I'm down to just Sulk here into King Gambit and protect this turn. The other debate is actually covering for Mimikyu switching out into Tauros. Or, sorry, into Salazzle. You're at -2. I mean, Wave Crash into that slot is decently safe, I guess. Alright, let's just Wave Crash. I think King Gambit has to Terra here. But, like, if Mimikyu switches out and I get Salazzle down to 1 HP, then it's a single Shadow Sneak away from fainting. Don't forget, I still have Gholdengo, by the way, as well. And I don't think an Overheat would KO us at max HP anyway, so I feel really good about the current position. Water. Okay, that works for me. I mean, once again, like, the beauty of the Poison Tera is just so few Pokemon can hit it for super effective damage. So, here's Wave Crash. Goodbye, Mimikyu. Tauros for Intimidate was actually so essential in this game against Mimikyu and their Tauros. I'm really happy about that. And they just Iron Head. Yeah, that does very little damage. And no flinch. Beautiful. And now I just get Sulcure off. Oh, Garganacl, you are so good. Leftovers. So we know they have Salazzle in the back. I don't want to switch out Tauros because I don't want to activate Defiant. With Salazzle out, I think we just double protect this next turn, get more Sulkier damage, get leftovers, and then I can just Aqua Jet. Part of the nice thing about the Tauros here is I don't think King Gambit actually threatens us with that much damage. So we'll just double protect here. Because you're going to run Iron Head, Sucker Punch, Cleave, and a 4th. And I resist both Iron Head as well as the Dark type attacks, which is nice. So we're super well positioned right now. The other thing is Salazzle, like, if you go for Overheat, it means that you're weaker later on in the battle. I think it's probably actually correct to switch out the Garganacl this next turn while Aqua Jetting into the Salazzle, just to cover for Overheat. Because if I get them to Overheat right now, Garganacl just wins the game. Because then subsequent Overheats don't do enough. There's Fake Out. Oh, interesting that they targeted Garganacl. I just don't think they have any way to beat Garganacl outside of maybe a strong Overheat. They also reveal Low Kick, which is good to confirm. Because earlier I was talking about, hey, you can't really hit Tauros, but Low Kick would be the option. That makes me think, though, that it's just Assault Vest. With no Protect. And 4 attacks. Cool. I was gonna say switch out here, but I mean, Iron Head Flinch, Sludge Bomb Tauros is what I'm worried about the most right now, right? I actually don't mind sacking Gholdengo here into Aqua Jet on Salazzle. I think that's fine. Because, like, Gholdengo would have to worry about both Overheat from Salazzle and Sucker Punch from King Gambit. Whereas with Mimikyu, like, I get Shadow Sneak, which is really valuable into both of my opponent's Pokemon. So, I'm fine making this play. The big question I still have is whether or not Salazzle is Protect, because if you have Protect, you could totally just go for it here, and then go for Low Kick onto my Tauros. There's Gholdengo. No Protect, nice. Ooh, actually, Aqua Jet did a little bit less than I would have liked there, but they actually end up Sludge Bombing into the... Huh. That's interesting. Okay, I'm a little bit confused at why the ordering went that way rather than the other way around, because they actually could have pressured with a double knockout there. I think it still would have been fine, by the way, though, right? Like, let's say you Cleave KO Gholdengo, Salazzle KOs Tauros, then it's a free double switch into Mimikyu and Garganacl, and King Gambit just feigns from Shadow Sneak, right? And then, so I just Shadow Sneak and Sulk here, essentially. So I think it still would have been fine, but yeah, with them targeting the way they did now, this is definitely over. I'll just switch out into Garganacl here and Aqua Jet. No need to feint to a Sucker Punch. But yeah, Sludge Bombing Garganacl is interesting. Like, I wonder if they maybe just timed out there, or they were going for some really crazy read. Because, like, they actually had the moves correctly. They just needed to switch up the ordering. Cool. Aqua Jet gets the KO. And Salt Cure finishes off King Gambit here. And they Sucker Punch. Beautiful. That's what this team can do. It can really just, like, slowly choke you out throughout the course of a battle. And Water Tera King Gambit didn't really do my opponent any favors here either, as Salt Cure was just so good. But yeah, I mean, Garganacl essentially almost ends the game with near full HP. And the main thing was, I think our teams were similar, but we had Garganacl, they didn't, and they had no way to beat Garganacl, even with the 4 Pokemon that they brought. Like, the best bet, I think, is really getting a really strong Overheat into us, but other than that, there's not too much potential. So, yeah, I feel like that game really highlighted... All the games have highlighted how good Garganacl can be, but that one in particular. Okay, next one here, Dondozo, Tatsugiri, King Gambit, Gholdengo, Volcarona, Meowscarada. It's super similar to the team that we just featured that finished ranked #1 at the end of the season, built by 2019 World Champion Naoto Mitsubishi. It's pink on the Tatsugiri. What do we want to do here? I don't know that, like, closed team sheet, not knowing the Dondozo Tera makes things trickier, in my opinion. Like, I want to go with... Volcarona Meowscarada lead is really scary from their end. That's a really tough lead. Oh, but you know, Tauros can survive crit Flower Trick if they're jolly 100% of the time. I don't know. I kind of like Tauros Meowscarada here. I don't think we bring Mimikyu into this matchup. Want Garganacl Gholdengo? I think it's tricky without knowing the Tera on the Dondozo. Because if I knew they were a dragon or flying, I would probably bring my Baxcalibur and Tera it as a response, but that's the one that makes things trickier here. Let's see. Let us see. It's a little bit risky, I think, leading the way I'm leading right now. Maybe Meowscarada Gholdengo, though. Okay, that works out decently, I would argue. The question is whether or not they're Gholdengo Teras on turn 1, but what I could do to cover for Tera is actually close combat it and knock off it. I wonder if knock off and Wave Crash just KOs. Gholdengo could also protect. I don't know the item on this right now. Protect, and then you just Flower Trick Tauros. I think it's safer to Wave Crash knockoff. Cool, they didn't Tera. Nice. We should survive this. Yep. I was going to say, Choice Scarf would have been a disaster for me there, but oh, we actually just get the one-hit KO, so they don't really have any bulk, I would assume. Cool. And it was Choice Specs. Excellent. Nice. You know, we get Wave Crash off. It's decent damage. I don't think I faint here, which is good, because now if you have the Tatsugiri Dondozo combo in the back, I can cycle out Tauros and then bring it back out. It's Volcarona, though. Oh, interesting. They did not go with Tatsugiri. It's probably Tera Garganacl from this angle, right? Love to conserve this for Wave Crash later on. If I close combated there, I'd be in better shape right now, but it's fine. I think I'm down to just Aqua Jet. Actually, I'm down to close combat here and protect. I don't think Tauros gets this close combat off, but like there's a world in which their Meowscarada targets mine, and then, I don't know, I just KO their Meowscarada. Wow, that's already interesting. Probably Tauros fainting, right? Okay, that's fine. Confirm protect on Volcarona. Now I get a free switch in as well. I think I do have to Tera here. Terraing, though, means that my Gholdengo right now is looking very weak in the back, which is slightly concerning. But Tera, Salt Cure, and Knockoff. Double into bulk, sure. I'm a little bit concerned because I have Gholdengo in the back, and they could just knock out Meowscarada here. Yeah, I don't love that. I don't know. Maybe I should have doubled up onto their Meowscarada. I think, like, Gholdengo is kind of a liability for me right now because I can just feint to knock off. So, Baxcalibur in the back actually would have been better. Why did I bring Gholdengo? What value did it give me in this battle? I gotta think about that. I don't know if Gholdengo was really the right decision. Into a team with Meowscarada, Volcarona, and double Dondozo Tatsugiri? Questionable decision on my end. But I think Garganacl can carry us over the finish line depending on how this plays out. Okay, they're going to knock off onto me. That's fine. I mean, we actually... as long as Flame Body doesn't activate here, I actually think I'm in... Ooh, it's Rocky Helmet. That's not good. That is not good. I should have anticipated that, though. Like, I don't know. Rocky Helmet's one of the most common items on Volcarona. Struggle Bug, which is cool to see as well, so it's Presumably just like the max HP defense set. Here's Selkier. Chaos Volk, but this is a problem that I was talking about earlier, where now I'm forced to just bring out this Gholdengo, and they can just knock off that slot. I don't have Leftovers recovery right now either, so I actually think I'm in pretty bad shape. And if I had, oh, interesting, they had Dondozo in the back without Tatsugiri. I think bringing Gholdengo on my hand was just kind of silly. That's the main mistake, I would argue. Anyway, I'm going to just Salt Cure here and make it rain. They still haven't Terra'd yet, by the way. I absolutely think that we have the potential to win, by the way, with just the Garganacl. Especially if they protect there with Dondozo. I'll take that. They still haven't Terra'd, right? Okay. Yeah, I mean, knockoff did not do much to us there either. You can see the difference, by the way, right? It's like we one-shot their Gholdengo with knockoff, and here I have like a third of my health, which is pretty wild. Kind of makes all the difference when you have bulk versus no bulk, and then admin Meowscarada versus Jolly Meowscarada. Okay, I don't really see how they beat Garganacl right now. I'm down to just Salt Cure. We're at -1, but Unaware ignores that. Just make it rain. They're in a tricky spot too, where it's like, do you go for a Tera and get rid of the water typing, and then like Tera into something else where Make It Rain does more damage? I also think it may have been actually correct to click Recover first, but the reality is that this is Dondozo without Tatsugiri, so what are you really threatening me with? Single target Make It Rains with Unaware, ignoring the special attack drops is quite nice as well. It's going to be Dragon, okay? I mean, this is going to take a ton, like, immediately. I'm just kind of surprised they didn't bring Tatsugiri in this one. Single target Choice Specs. Yeah, it's 50%. Jeez. Do they have Earthquake? Huh, they're also slower. Okay. I guess that's not super surprising. Dondozo's not exactly the fastest Pokemon. And they actually just go for Order Up. Okay, that's definitely game over then. Even if they had Earthquake there, though, it's like, yeah, maybe you knock out the Gholdengo, you get some decent damage onto us, but you're not winning in the long run. And I feel like this game highlights how much of a liability Dondozo can be, especially in the end game. Regular Dondozo can be very powerful, right? But I don't know. I don't think it was ever in a position to... We should actually just click Recover here. It's always more... it doesn't make a difference, actually, but... Yeah, they end up forfeiting. I mean, Garganacl's amazing with this team, right? The Poison Tauros is what I think really carries it over the finish line, but this one, like the EV spread, just allowing it to be as bulky as it is, and then two, Soul Cure has just been absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that game was interesting, because I wasn't expecting solo Dondozo. I thought King Gambit, if my opponent brought King Gambit over Dondozo, I think I would have lost that one, because then you could just Sucker Punch my Gholdengo. So, I think it was a mistake to bring Gholdengo. I guess the main reason I brought it was because I was afraid of their Gholdengo. I wanted multiple answers into it, and with them not bringing it, like, I think the Baxcalibur would have been an infinitely stronger choice in this battle. But, yeah. Anyway, I hope that you can now see how this team was able to win a regional championship. It's so smart. I think it has a lot of really cool techs on it. And so congrats once again to Jiseok for winning, and huge thank you to him for building and sharing this team. So go check him out, linked in the description below. Thank you so much as always for watching. It's good to be back, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.